Hello, I'm Alex Pearson, sitting in for Michael Coren. Well, her silence sure has been deafening on the issue. But if there's no grandiose vote-grabbing photo op to be held, then really what's the benefit for Premier Wynne to get out in front of a contentious issue like religious accommodation in a publicly funded school? Well, with 70% of the university population being female, you'd think an openly gay premier who has likely faced sexism and intolerance herself would want to add her voice and support the female student body. And this one is an easy issue to jump on. Overwhelmingly, the professor who stood up for women saying no to accommodating one student's requests at the expense of others has support on his side. Just ask the students.
I don't think there's a real religious justification for not working with women.
It's just going back to segregation by sex. I think it's ridiculous.
We should actually be flexible rather than just being too strict about the religion.
Politicians of all stripes, federally and provincially, immediately applauded his action. Even federal NDP leader Thomas Mulcair.
And if it is exactly as you described, I find it inadmissible. I don't think that a university should be accommodating such a demand.
Everyone except for the Wynne government, and it seems the out-of-touch educrats at York University who continue to try and spin this story. The ministry in charge of colleges and universities quickly came out in support of the university, but then flipped, and days later it became embarrassingly clear that the court of public opinion was on Team Professor. But still nothing from Miss Wynne. Is it because she wasn't asked by the media, which has been silent on her silence? Has she not heard about the issue? Was she busy giving out free gift cards? Or maybe she was running. I know she really likes to run. Her ad tells me so.
There are things most people don't know about me. One, I love running.
Or is it simply not in her political interest to weigh in on an issue of faith over feminism? We already know where her predecessor, Dalton McGuinty, stood when it came to the issue of imams coming into publicly funded schools and holding prayer. He didn't stand at all, he said, and did nothing. He didn't even express concern when it was learned that young female students with their period were ordered to stand at the back of the class. So to this day, every Friday in a public school, young women are still treated as secondary citizens, and now it's happening again. Now, the females in this case are older. They haven't been shuffled to the back of the room, but the system again buckled, allowing religious fanaticism into a publicly funded school. So what's been her response so far? Could it be that we're heading into an election? Is she worried the issue of faith-based education may rear its head? We know how that turned out for the last guy who dared suggest faith-based schooling be offered to all. Well, if that is Premier Wynne's concern, I can assure her this is not the issue that will sink her. It's a slam dunk, a no-brainer. Premier Wynne could have shown leadership on a real social issue affecting a huge part of her base, women. An issue that has the approval of the majority of Ontarians, even those tired of the Liberals' scandal-plagued party. Wynne has, of course, kept quiet. Maybe she's working on her next staged photo op, which could come as early as Wednesday, when we could possibly hear that a writ will be dropped on 2 by-elections. Not a general election, which would seem the logical step, the less expensive step, and what most Ontarians want. No. Instead, Wynne is expected to call 2 costly and time-consuming by-elections. Maybe she sees it as a litmus test to see just how angry Ontarians really are, how tired they are of the scandal-plagued party that has wasted billions on e-health, gas plants, Orange Ambulance, failed green businesses, the cancelled Ontarian Northland Transportation Commission. You think I'm finished? Nope. I haven't mentioned the gutted manufacturing sector. 39,000 jobs lost just this past December. A $60 billion ring of fire, a massive chromite mining project now on the verge of collapse. Skyrocketing hydro costs delivered by a completely bloated and mismanaged agency, or the criminal investigations into Orange and those erased gas plant emails. The only thing the Liberals have done successfully is add 300,000 more government jobs and buckled to union demands, giving hefty raises and pensions to cops and teachers. So you see why Miss Wynne may need to call those by-elections. It'll certainly tell her what her party's future looks like. So maybe Wynne should have done this latest photo op. You know, the one where the Premier could have stood up and spoken out on why someone's religion can never come at the expense of someone else's rights in this country. In this case, women, her base. Here's what she had to say on International Women's Day last year.
As we continue our journey toward equality and advancement for women and all of the people of this province, I'm excited by the possibilities. Our government is committed to fostering a fair society where nobody is held back by prejudice and everyone can flourish. And when everyone is able to contribute, our province can truly prosper. Have a wonderful Women's Day.
If she truly believes that, it's time for her to speak up and truly stand by her words, but I don't believe she will. And that's just one example of why the people of Ontario need a change.
So it's time for action. My plan, we get Ontario back on top, make us #1 in jobs, and bring in 1 million new, well-paying jobs in our province to put people back to work with more take-home pay.
Joining us now is the man with the $1 million job plan, Tim Hudak, Ontario PC leader. Great to have you here with us.
Yeah, thanks, Alice. Great seeing you again, too.
You've got a plan. We're finally hearing some of it. I hazard to say this is the platform you might run on.
Well, look, first of all, it's a private member's bill coming up in February, but if you're asking me, is jobs and getting our economy back on track part of our plan when the election comes? Absolutely. I mean, whether I'm in Toronto, back home in Niagara, Alex, top issue, good jobs, the kind of job you can count on to help pay down your mortgage, put some money aside for tuition for the kids, because Lord knows we need a plan. We need jobs in the province of Ontario. I've got a plan to bring 1 million in.
You suggest that you can do 125,000 jobs over each year for 8 years. A lot of people say that's very ambitious. Well, how do you say it's doable?
First of all, I mean, strong leadership starts with setting great goals and then laying out the map on how you achieve those goals. But I know why people are cynical, because we've lost jobs. You mentioned the 39,000 in the intro we lost last December alone. But Ontario should be doing this. I mean, we should be the leader, considering the resources we have, the natural talent, the entrepreneurs. We're the business center of Canada in Toronto. And I'll tell you why I'm confident we can do this too, Alex. I was actually there. I sat at the cabinet table under Premier Harris and the PC government, and from 95 to 2003, guess how many jobs we created in the province of Ontario? 1.1 million. We've done it before. We can do it again.
Well, they haven't called you a reptilian kitten eater or a baby stealer yet, but the Liberals came out very quickly yesterday and say you're a job killer, and that, you know, you're already being spun as, you know, the Mike Harris, you know, the evil one. And so what's your response? Well, I mean, they're saying you're going to kill jobs.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit more helpful if the Liberals had actually put out their jobs plan. I put mine on the table. If they disagree with it, fine. Then tell us what you're going to do. But all I've seen is higher hydro rates, bigger plans to increase taxes beyond what they've already done with the HST, the eco tax. I mean, this 10 cents a liter gas tax, and more red tape, more runaround, more hassle for anybody who tries to get something done in the province of Ontario. So, look, if that's their plan, I'll put mine against theirs any day of the week. I believe we can actually get Ontario moving again by getting taxes down, getting debt down, and getting hydro rates under control.
You're going to be swimming against a media pool that is very much against Tim Hudak. They all seem to like Andrea Horwath. They seem to give a pass to the Premier. You're the one who's got to get this message out. How are you going to do that?
Well, every day I'm out talking about my jobs plan. I mean, we got some coverage, which is great, on Sun yesterday. I'm on your show. I actually launched my regional tour earlier today in the Niagara Peninsula, which is, by the way, the highest unemployment rate in all of Ontario. I'm in Kitchener-Waterloo on Thursday. So whatever the media coverage we get, I'm talking about the biggest issue in the province, because I am convinced when people see their son or daughter who have their university degree, but they're still home with mom and dad because they can't get a good job despite their talent. You've got that family who lost a job in manufacturing. There's 300,000 of those jobs gone. They're still struggling to get by. They got a part-time job, but they say, we can do a lot better than this. I'm confident we can. I put my plan on the table.
I mean, we know that the government's bloated. We know that they've added hundreds of thousands of jobs, government jobs. This means you have to fight against the unions. And you have a plan for workers that would give them fair rights, more transparency. But you're going to be fighting the unions. So how do you fight that?
I get it. Look, I fight it on the power of our ideas, and ideas that actually connect with hardworking Ontarians that know Ontario should be the leader in jobs. The best place to start a business and see it grow, not the back of the pack. And whenever I talk about this, Alex, people say, you know what? These ideas that we currently have, they're not working. It's time to try something bold and new. And these are ideas that have worked in the past, and they've worked everywhere else they've been tried, so why not Ontario? Well, get taxes down, energy under control, less debt, do more in the skilled trades, and open up new trade opportunities for Ontario. That's a recipe for success.
Premier Wynne has already said she wants to keep things clean. That's how she runs things. But she knows that she can get the unions to do her dirty work, and they'll be happy because they'll come after you with their attack ads. It is hard to tell the average Canadian who's simply watching TV and hearing just how evil you are to simply get this message through.
Yeah, we'll be outspent, and you know, this is what we got to think about when we see those ads from the so-called Working Families Coalition. Basically, a collection of the big labor elites who like the way things are going now because they benefit, but their workers and those who pay the taxes fall farther and farther behind. But let's not fool ourselves. These million-dollar smear campaigns don't come cheap. What has Kathleen Wynne or Andrea Horwath promised the unions in return for all that political money behind their campaigns? I don't like the sounds of it. It's going to put us further into bankruptcy and cost us more jobs.
Since that last photo op where she dressed up as a hydro worker or she was out giving out gift cards, we haven't really heard from Premier Wynne. Now we're hearing going into 2 by-elections. When people in this province want an election, a general election, why is she so quiet on these issues right now?
I think it's somebody who's run out of ideas. I mean, it was almost a year ago that she became Premier of the province, not picked by voters in Ontario, but handpicked by a select group of Liberals. And honest to goodness, we've had now almost 12 months of consultations and a lot of talk and a lot of hand-holding. Listening is an important part of leadership, but never let that be an excuse for lacking to make decisions. When you're hemorrhaging jobs, when we're piling up the debt, we need action. And we need action now. And I'm ready to put my plan into action. And I think Ontarians want to see change, so let's get on with it.
Maybe she's just busy with those criminal investigations. We just don't know.
It might have you tied up, all those OPP crawling around.
Tim, thanks. A pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Have a good evening.